Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Well, late last night I finished The End and the Death Volume 2. And today, well, I have just got to talk about it. Before we begin, as usual for the Siege of Terra, I will not be scoring this as a review, because we all know every Siege of Terra installment deserves a 5 out of 5 blessed by the Emperor and nothing else. Sure, there may be some installments we enjoy more than others, but it's the Siege of Terra, the most defining event in 40k history. And as usual, I'm staying away from talking specific spoilers until the siege is over, as I really just want everyone to have the experience and enjoy it for themselves firsthand first. This is an event decades in the making, and there's plenty of time to dive in and break down and analyse the events and motivations after. So, The End and the Death Volume 2. You've seen the cover of the book, you know what's going down here. The final path of Sanguinius facing Horus. The penultimate installment of the Siege of Terra. Originally, I thought it was going to be the end until I saw part 3 turn up in my Amazon suggestions. And where do I begin? This is a very intriguing one. Somehow, it manages to feel like you've covered an epic ton of ground, but technically without much time passing at all. And there are some very strong themes and elements at play with this one. You get a very, very strong sense of just what this conflict has become, particularly early on, but constantly throughout as well. The sheer state of the physical universe, how this conflict has transcended any possible description, as well as the very boundaries of reality. The Horus heresy may have been a war, it may have been a tragedy of destruction, the likes of which the galaxy has never seen. But this now, the Siege of Terra, the Emperor facing Horus, it's everything. It has become existence. And my word, do you feel the weight of that as this story unfolds. Again, real strong themes of the universe, the immaterium early on. And it kind of gave me vibes of the Bequin series in some ways. I also felt that this story was kind of akin to reaching the eye of the storm. You know, the surreal, eerie calm at the centre of this raging inferno. As there was a lot of dialogue in this one. A lot of moments away from the heat of the action, so to speak. Yes, this has been interspersed throughout the Siege of Terra series. But in here, it really felt like the dialogue was carrying the story along, rather than the action. Yes, there's still plenty of action, don't fret, and it undoubtedly feels like it picks up as the story moves on. However, compared to the overwhelming, relentless grind of the legions throwing themselves at each other, this feels distinctly different. And maybe as well it should. Because that phase of the war is arguably immaterial now. It's all down to that one final encounter. The Emperor versus Horus is what will decide the galaxy. And I really enjoyed this subtle change. This change to really see and feel the weight of the moment on the characters. How each of them is facing their own respective challenges, yet too playing their own role in this end of times. For all these central roles of the major players, the Emperor, Malcador, the Primarchs, Abaddon, I think this one really had me invested into the efforts of those lesser characters too, how equally their quests have their roles to play. Of course you want to get back to those main players and moments, you always will. But now more than ever, there's this sense of a desperation. You're not getting a few fleeting thoughts between parrying enemy blows. You're getting true inner reflection and soul searching. why people continue to resist, to struggle, to fight, and even plenty of enlightenment too, on both sides. And again, I really enjoyed what felt like a little slower change of pace. Now, as I said, this is not without action, and when it builds up, boy does it build up. This is Sanguinius vs Horus, a contest of legend for a lifetime, a moment anticipated, longed for and built up for decades, since Horus rising all those many years ago, and even before then. There is no Primarch relationship more showcased throughout the entire Heresy series. From the Great Crusade to the Heresy, we have seen the love between these two brothers, the rivalry, the destiny. This is a moment that will be remembered forever, and it delivers. There is not enough praise in the world that can be given to Mr. Abnett for crafting and bringing it to us, and for all the authors of the Siege of Terra, as I've said before, because there must have been a huge amount of pressure on their shoulders that came with it, knowing all of us fans have been waiting for this for so long. I listened to the audiobook for my first go-through of this, and it goes without saying the legend that is Jonathan Keeble absolutely smashed it out the park as usual, really bringing that emotion to life. But as much as the path to that foretold conflict between Horus and Sanguinius carries the novel, there are some absolutely holy you-know-what moments in this. I literally said to myself, what on earth is going on here, when my mouth hit the ground at one point. I couldn't believe what I just heard. There are some real surprises and shocks in this. And even the one I felt was coming early on, when it did, then it still turned out to surprise me. It all flows and builds in a really great way. As I've said before, I've never been a particular fan of the perpetual storyline, for example. For me, my biggest love of 40k is and always has been the Emperor, the Primarchs and the Space Marines. That's my focus. That's my biggest love. However, this story pulls all the various strands together in this, of which there are many, but it does it in such a great way that it all feels natural. Like, rather than Dan Abnett has sat down and wrote this story, it really is simply the galaxy coming together. It's somehow all boiling down to this. And so I really think the more this story goes along, the more you'll find yourself becoming more and more engrossed in it. Because that's exactly what happened for me. I grew into it as the story went along. Again, as I said, it's a definite different pulse, if you will, to the carnage of the earlier Siege installments. But quite clearly it needed to be, because it works beautifully. I'd say the second half of the book is definitely the stronger, but that's only in retrospect, because the first half set it all up so well. If you've started this one, or you're waiting for your copy to turn up, do yourself a favour once it does. Grab your book, grab your headphones if you've got the audio. Tell your friends and family to give you some peace and quiet for a couple of evenings, and just sit back and dive into this. Because it deserves it. And man, do we have a lot to discuss when the siege is over. Only one more to go. Ugh, this is going to be something. As always everyone, what did you think? Have you started Volume 2 yet? Are you waiting for your copy to arrive? Are you going for the audio or the hardback copy? Or have you even finished it like me? Let's try and keep the comments spoiler free, or at least clearly labelled for those that have yet to read the book. As always, huge thank you to all my subscribers for your support. It truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.